I'm going to talk about self-trust. Now, I'm not talking about self-reliance. We got to be very careful when we use the word self. A lot of people get upset in Christianity when you use the word self. We're not talking about lovers of selves. We're talking about those that love themselves as God loves them. So we're going to talk about self-trust. You have a self. We're talking about the self that is born again of the water into the Spirit. That's a son or a child of God. So I'm not talking about tonight, when I talk about self-trust, I'm not talking about independence from God. I'm not talking about I don't need anyone. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm speaking about trusting the work of God within you. I got news for you right now. The Spirit of the Lord is not out here. He's in you, and He is doing a work. And we need to know that God is working in us. He's working on our identity. He's working on us understanding who we are. How can we partner with Him if we don't understand who we are, and if we're not able to show up in relationships in alignment with what He is saying about us? So I'm talking about trusting the work of God within you. So as a father, He is speaking. He is directing. He is revealing who you are. He is establishing your worth. He is anchoring your place in His larger plan. You're not just a son of God, but you have callings, you have giftings, all of these things. So He is anchoring you. God is your source. That is what the word father means, is source. Write source in the comments. So you are the steward of everything God is putting in you. That is your job. So self-trust in that sense is not trusting yourself instead of God. It's trusting that the Spirit of God is actively shaping your conscience. The Spirit of the Lord is actively forming your discernment. The Spirit of the Lord is actively speaking and revealing to you. As often as you will present yourself and become aware of His presence, He is guiding your steps, okay? So self-trust is learning to align with what He is forming inside of you instead of overriding it to please the room, okay? Someone say, I will not override the Father to please the room. That is a powerful statement, okay? It is trusting that God is actively shaping you. Okay, and you're not going to override what the Lord is forming inside of you in order to please the room around you. That's so important. So alignment with Him is the goal, not alignment with self, not this stuff. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about aligning with Him. Okay, so relationship health is going to be the outcome of that. So when you're aligned with Him, you don't need to extract worth from people. Okay, I will not outsource worth from anyone. I insource it from the Father. So you don't need to extract worth from the people when you're aligned with Him. You don't need to perform for other people's approval. You don't need to shrink to stay connected. You can show up steady. Someone writes steadiness in the comments. Steadiness. I can show up steady, because I'm not coming in to get anything. I'm not attaching myself to anyone else's value or worth or declaration of my significance or meaning, affirmation, validation, approval. Okay, I get that from Him. If I attach it to you and you go up, then I go up. You go down, I go down. But if I attach it to Him, in Him there is no variableness nor shadow of turning. Aren't you thankful for a steady, predictable Father? Okay? So you are not leading yourself. You're cooperating with the Father who leads you. And then you are leading yourself from what He is revealing about you. That's not self-reliance. That is sonship lived from the inside out. Now, I'm going to talk to you about why you don't self-trust. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you lack discipline. It's not because you're defective. It's because you've been desperate. Now, when I say the word desperate, I'm not saying needy. I'm talking about desperate to be seen. Desperate is when someone feels invisible for too long. That's what desperation is. It's when someone feels invisible for too long. You know what that feels like? What feeling invisible inside a relationship feels like? It feels like you're present, but you're not known. You're there, you show up, you contribute, but no one really sees what's happening inside of you. It feels like explaining yourself and not being understood, saying I'm fine, because it's easier to say I'm fine or it's cool than it is actually trying again. You're being the strong one, but never actually being supported. You're always being valued for what you do. You're useful, but not for who you are. You're talking and you feel like your words hit a wall. Has anyone here ever been there? Okay? Just hang with me. It feels like shrinking. You start softening your reactions. You downplay your hurt. You filter your thoughts. You dismiss what you want or desire or need in a relationship. You say less than you actually feel, because experience has taught you it's not going to land anyway. Okay? It feels like loneliness next to someone. Not physical absence, but actually it's emotional absence. So you can be in the same room and in the same bed and in the same church and still feel alone inside of your experience. That is desperation. That is loneliness. Okay? That's what that is. You still feel alone inside of your experience. So it feels like your grief has no witness and your effort goes unnoticed. Your internal battles, no one sees them. They're invisible, and your needs, all of your needs feel like inconveniences. So what happens is you stop bringing them. And over time, it feels like self-doubt. You start wondering, here's some things you start asking yourself. Am I too much? Am I too sensitive? Am I asking for too much? Have you ever been there? Okay? When in reality, you're asking just to be seen. Okay? The deepest part of this is feeling like you're disappearing slowly. Not dramatically, just quietly. Okay? You adjust, you accommodate, you become easier until one day you realize you are present in the relationship, but you are absent from yourself. That right there, over time, will make a person desperate for someone to finally get it right just once. If my parents could get it right, a spouse, if the leaders could just see me, a friend could just see me. It don't matter. I guess if someone would just comment on something I put on Facebook, it's like if anybody could just look at you and not flinch, that would be nice. Okay? You want someone who could see the real you and not tighten up, not act like you're a burden, not act like you're a problem. I'm telling you, this is so prevalent even in the body of Christ, okay? If you could just show up the real you and them not correct you immediately, or not change the subject when you bring up a subject, not get uncomfortable when you walk in the room, not distance themselves, not panic, not shame you, okay? Not spiritually bypass you and just tell you, suck it up, buttercup, okay? Because flinching is subtle. That's what it is. It's not always dramatic rejection. Sometimes it's very, very small. For example, when people flinch at you, you might share grief and they just say, it'll be okay. They don't really want to go deep with you. They just want to move it on quickly. So you share your doubt and they respond with a sermon instead of listening. Okay, you express anger and they withdraw emotionally. You show intensity and they label you as too much. You cry and they stiffen. You ask hard questions, they shut down. You admit you're struggling and they look disappointed. You need reassurance and they sigh. You say something vulnerable and they make a joke. That's what flinching is. It's the micro recoil, the pulling back. It's the subtle tightening in the room just because you showed up the real you. This is what's going on in me. This is what I feel. This is what I'm going through. This is what I want. This is what I desire. This is what I'm battling with. And when you grow up around flinching, your nervous system learns, don't show that again. That's what it learns. Don't show that again. So you start editing yourself all the time. You shrink your sadness. You mute your anger. You soften questions or just make them go away completely. You carry your grief alone because you don't want to experience the recoil again. You weren't asking for an applause. You were just asking for steadiness. Someone put steadiness in the comments, okay? You want someone who could look at your fear and not panic. You want someone that could look at your anger and not escalate. That you can express your doubts and they're not going to condemn you. You're going to look at your weaknesses and you're going to show them and reveal your weaknesses, and they're not going to withdraw. They're just going to stay. And here's where it shifts. I got good news for everyone listening in here right now. Okay? God is not flinching. God does not tighten up when you confess. He's not recoiling when you doubt. He's not disappointed when you struggle. He is not threatened by your questions, okay, or your intensity. He's not startled by your questions. He's not surprised by your humanity. He's not overwhelmed by your emotions. He does not panic when you unravel. God does not recoil from your reality. He meets you in it. You can bring God your anger. You can bring him your confusion. You can bring him your shame, your fear, your questions, your exhaustion. And guess what he does? He remains steady. He is a predictable God. That's what he is. He is a predictable Father. He remains steady. That's what builds safety inside of a relationship. That's what builds trust, or even rebuilds trust in a relationship. When someone can show up, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the people inside the relationship stay steady. They're not surprised. They don't recoil. They're not flinching. They're not pulling away. See, when you finally experience someone who can see the full weight of you and not flinch, see, you can't, I'm just going to be real honest. You're never going to get that from a human. If you get that from a human, that's because that human is seeing you through the lens of the Father. But when you fully experience someone who can see the full weight of you and not flinch, that's when you stop editing yourself. So if you get in a relationship where someone can take all of you and not recoil and not pull back and not flinch, that is a gift from God, okay? That is a relationship you want to be in. Because you can stop editing yourself. You can stop disappearing. You can stop bargaining. You can just start believing that I am fully seen and I am still fully held, even though I am fully seen. That's where desperation begins to die. Okay? Steadiness replaces scarcity. We get in so many relationships where true intimacy is scarce. Like there are not people that show up consistently because we want people to look and act a certain way. And we certainly don't want to pull off the mask and reveal everything that's going on in us because it's going to cause them to recoil. It's going to cause them to flinch. So everyone shows up wearing a mask. Listen, God does not flinch. You don't have to flinch either. Okay? I have seen something over and over again. I want to talk about this. A person who has felt invisible for years, and they come to God, especially young men. There are many young men who just feel invisible for years. They may have absent fathers, which often leads to an unengaged mother. And they come to God, and something beautiful happens. Actually, they discover that they are called. They discover that they are gifted. They discover they have a purpose, and that is real. There's no doubt that is a real thing. But here is where it can bend, okay? Instead of letting God see them fully, they use their calling to be seen by people. Instead of letting their identity be settled in private, they build visibility in public. It's a subtle desperation, okay? It's not evil, it's not manipulative, but it's wounded. And if you've been invisible for too long and suddenly you are affirmed by your gifting, it feels like oxygen to you. Okay? I have known men that had a gift to speak or to lead or to serve or to teach or to help. But now the fact is they were invisible before. But now people notice them. People value them. People affirm them. But affirmation of gifting is not the same as being fully seen. See, you can be celebrated for what you produce and still be invisible in who you are. And if invisibility is your wound, you will unconsciously use your gift to medicate that wound of invisibility. Okay? You were meant to be seen by your father. You were meant to be seen by your mother. You were meant to be seen by your brothers and your sisters. But that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You were meant to be seen by God. But I'm here to tell you, it is not, you're not just meant to be seen by what you produce, by how you perform, by what you put out. You will use calling to secure attention, and you'll use service to secure belonging, and you will use platform to secure your identity. That is not ministry. That is survival. And because it involves a gifting, it looks spiritual. But underneath of it is this fear that if people really saw all of me, they would leave. Okay? So you curate. What does that mean? It means you present the strongest parts of yourself. Well, the strongest parts of yourself are now the giftings and the calling. So you present all the strongest parts, the articulate parts, the spiritual parts, the competent parts. But here's the hiding game that happens in this. You hide your doubt, you hide your fear, you hide your anger, you hide your insecurity, you hide your need. That is religious performance, is what that is. You know, what religion says is be impressive and be useful and be righteous and be needed, but do not be fully human. It says God can use you, but don't let him expose you. Don't let him see you. So instead of being fully seen by God in private, you become effective for God in public. So we have a lot of men who are effective in public. They're using giftings and callings. It looks like you get that in private, but those are given without repentance. God is not turning away from giving them. And so men who are not being shaped and the hurts and the things going on in them in private are never being dealt with. So they present publicly as very spiritual, powerful individuals, but they are broken on the inside, and they have never aligned their identity, their self-worth, their meaning, their significance, their value on the inside with what the Father is saying. They're just using their gifting to get value, affirmation, approval, acceptance, significance, meaning, and worth from the people, rather than getting it from God and showing up with it and extracting it from the people. They show up with it from God, and they minister from a place of wholeness and from power. You can become effective for God in public instead of having intimacy. You build impact instead of actually yielding your life to him and allowing him to work. You can build influence with people because being fully seen feels more dangerous than being fully used. Being fully seen feels more dangerous than being fully used. But here's the truth. God is not looking for impressive sons. He's looking for honest ones. God, calling is not given so you can secure visibility. This is not about you being visible. This is about him getting the glory. And he gets the glory from the transformation in your life when you're being conformed into his image by knowing him and beholding him and actually walking with him. This is why Jesus said there will be those that are operating in these giftings and callings, but when it comes right down to it, they don't know me. They secure visibility by gifting and calling, but they have no security in their identity. They do not know me. They have not worked with me as father. I do not know them as a son. Listen, calling is given from security. It's not given so you can secure visibility. It's given from security. And if you do not let God see you fully in private, then you will always need men to see you publicly. Go to my YouTube. I just ministered a message this week called Aligned with the Father, talking about the power of hiddenness, about where the real places where God actually is working that no one else sees. See, you'll always need men to see you in a public arena if you do not let God see you fully in private. And if you're afraid to truly be seen by men, it's because somewhere you believe if they saw the whole story, they would abandon me. And I cannot tell you how often that is true. Okay? They would abandon me if they saw the whole story. Well, but that fear is what keeps you in performance mode. And performance feels spiritual, but it's still hiding. So the shift is actually going to happen when you realize that you don't have to be seen for what you can do. You do not need to be seen for what you can do. You need to be seen for who you are. And who you are is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when you let God see the whole you without flinching, not just the whitewashed you, but the whole you without flinching, you hear me? When you allow God to see you for who you are without flinching, the whole you, he's not going to flinch without revoking sonship, without withdrawing calling. It's amazing that God can see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he is not revoking your calling. He's not revoking your sonship. He is not surprised that those things exist inside of you. He knows exactly where you come from. He knows the patterns, the cycles, the behaviors, the emotional patterns, the coping mechanisms. He is not flinching at any of that. He's not withdrawing your calling because these things, and that's the danger, is that they're without repentance. It's not conditional. But when you actually allow God to see all of you, this is what I battle with. This is what I'm angry about. This is what's going on inside of me. This is what I want. This is what I'm struggling with. This is where my weaknesses are. These are my fractures. This is what's going on inside of me. And God doesn't flinch. When you actually understand that he's not meeting you with punishment and ridicule and criticism, and he is not meeting you with condemnation and accusation, he's not revoking your sonship or withdrawing his callings on your life because you're actually real with him, that's when your desperation begins to die. That's when it begins to die. Because now you are not using your gifting to be noticed. You are using your gifting from a place of already being known. And there's a massive difference between serving to be seen and serving because you are secure. The first one is actually religion. I mean, right down to you got to dress, suit and tie and the whole nine. I'm serving to be seen. And everything about me, I make all the adjustments to make sure that when I'm seen, I'm publicly acceptable and therefore deemed as very spiritual, when all the time the Lord doesn't even know what's going on inside of me. I mean, so serving because you are secure, that is sonship. See, religion is going to constantly cry out, earn your place, earn your place, earn your place, okay? But sonship says you already have one. Well, how can I have one with all of this stuff going on in me? That's God's grace. That's God's mercy. None of that's going away. It's only going to leave when your humanity is over with. So you have to be able to hold nuance, because nuance is knowing two things are true at the same time. I'm fully human and I'm son of God. So as a son of God, I'm seated with him in heavenly places. I have giftings, I have callings, but in my humanity, I am broken, I have weaknesses, I have issues. That is the real journey. That's spiritual maturity, to hold those two and be real about both of them. Not to spiritually bypass this one. Oh, all my humanities, I'm just going to act like I'm this ultra, super, hyper, Mr. Superhero, spiritual man. No. Sonship says you have one. You, all of you. That's the good, the bad, the ugly, and who you are in Christ. All of you. That's yourself. And when that settles in you, you no longer need to hide behind your strengths. Because you can be fully seen by God and by safe men. And I'm going to say safe men because not all men are safe. You can be fully seen by God and safe men without disappearing. So what desperation is, it's prolonged invisibility. Desperation comes when your grief is unwitnessed and you're looking for a mirror and you can't find it. Desperation is what happens when your pain had no receiver. Desperation is when you're starving for a witness. Desperation is borrowing worth from any room that will offer worth. Desperation is connecting at any cost, even to the abandonment of your own self. Okay? Desperation is self-betrayal in the name of belonging somewhere. Desperation is abandoning yourself before anybody else can. It's volunteering for disappointment so you don't feel rejected. You abandon yourself. You reject yourself. You say, you know what? I'm just not even gonna say anything. I'm not even gonna say that. I'll just be disappointed so I don't have to say it and be rejected. Desperation is forgetting that you already have a name and trying to walk into a room and get a name from the people there. It's outsourcing to people what was meant to be received from God. Okay? That's what desperation is. It's seeking a verdict from people when he has already spoken the verdict on you. So desperation, I will even say it this way, desperation is identity amnesia. I forget who I am and whose I am. Because you did not lose self-trust in a vacuum. You lost it in rooms. Let me explain that. When I say you lost self-trust in rooms, I'm talking about little rooms, literal rooms. I'm talking about bedrooms, dining rooms, classrooms, church offices, sanctuaries, locker rooms. Self-trust is built through reflection. So when you are a child, now a child learns whether their internal signal is safe by how the adults in the room respond to it. So let me explain something. If you were confused as a child and someone explained calmly instead of mocking you or rushing you, they actually slowed down and helped you understand. Is that how the Lord works with us? Yes, it is. Okay, what does that teach a child? That my questions are safe, I'm not stupid for not knowing, and I can trust my learning process. You know what that does? It builds self-trust because confusion isn't punished. Confusion is a normal part of growing. Okay? Confusion doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you ignorant. It makes you human. So if you were a child and you said no, and that no was respected. Instead of being forced, instead of being shamed, that was honored. I know I have worked with so many people that when I get right down to the rejection in their life and the fear in their life, it comes down to adults who would not accept no from a child. Okay? When they were uncomfortable, they didn't have a voice. Listen, a child, when you hear them say no and you respect that instead of forcing them or shaming them, they learn that my discomfort matters. I can trust my instincts. My body and my voice count. And that builds self-trust because boundaries then are reinforced in them. Now, if you were a child and you told the truth and you were protected, you know how many young people I work with that told the truth about stuff and they were never protected after they told the truth. What does that teach them? That honesty is unsafe. That they could tell the truth about their mistakes, but that's going to equal abandonment or loss of love. So they can't even trust to be integral. If you were corrected without shame, if you told the truth and instead of being exposed and humiliated, you were corrected without shame, you learn that honesty is safe. You learn that mistakes don't erase love. I can't tell you the number of people that I work with that make mistakes, and every time they made a mistake, it equaled danger in their life. Okay? It equaled danger in their life. Why danger? Because every time they made a mistake, they were punished, ridiculed. met with accusation. They were mocked, and sarcasm entered the room, and they were a disappointment. Well, now how do they deal with their own mistakes? They can't even be honest about their own mistakes because mistakes equal danger. All right, now, if you're a child and you were overwhelmed and someone stayed calm while you were overwhelmed, they didn't escalate. They didn't look at you, oh, come on, get over it. What is wrong with you? You know, that child has big emotions, which all children do. If those parents steadied you, that's what the Lord does with us, right? Then that child would learn that big emotions are navigable, that they don't have to fear in their intensity, that they can trust their internal world. That builds self-trust because emotion isn't dangerous. So the pattern here is really simple. It's simple. Self-trust is built when your internal signal is met with steadiness. Your nervous system learns, my signal makes sense. What's going on inside of me is not unsafe. Self-trust is built when your internal world is navigated steadily. We're back to steadiness, okay? But what happened instead was, for many of us, we were dismissed. You're too sensitive. Stop crying. It's not a big deal. Well, does God ever tell us that? Is that what he's saying to us? When you approach the Lord, does he look at you and tell you you're too sensitive, stop crying? It's not such a big deal. No, your system learns something in me is wrong. If your emotions triggered anger in your parents, you learn that your feelings cause damage. Something's wrong with you. If the room was unpredictable, then you learned I have to monitor the room more than I monitor myself. So if love for you was conditional on performance or based on your performance or usefulness, you learned I'm only safe when I produce. If pain was ignored in your life, you learn I'm alone in my experience. Unwitnessed pain turns into self-doubt. And so slowly the room becomes your authority. That's what happens. The room actually becomes your authority. You have no internal witness. You have no internal trust. You no longer trust yourself. Everything that comes out of you is dismissed or avoided or scoffed at or sarcastic or rushed, or no one is steady. No one slows down to validate your experience and to be there for you. That's called presence. By the way, presence is God's #1 ministry to us. God, who is invisible, became visible. He entered into our dimension to give us presence. God with us. That's amazing. And now it's Christ in us. That's our hope. Presence is the #1 ministry of God. That's why the word Eden means presence. Okay? It's a place where God meets with us. He is present, and guess what? He's present in every situation. He's not flinching. He's not abandoning. He's not jumping ship. He's not afraid of all the stuff that's going on inside of you. He's not afraid of where you came from. He's not afraid of the residue that's going on inside of you. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of any of that. He's present. So when you don't have someone steady and present, then you learn what's going on inside of you is messed up. It's so messed up. I'm messed up. Something's wrong with me. So you no longer have any kind of influence or authority in yourself. Now you walk into rooms and you're looking for everyone else to tell you what's going on because you don't trust what's going on inside yourself. That's when desperation begins. You didn't just start out doubting yourself. You started out hoping someone would understand you. And when they didn't, you made the adjustments. You became easier. You became easy to be around instead of real to be around. Now you can't show up the real you. You had to hide parts of yourself in order to maintain survival in an atmosphere. You translated your emotions into something that people could digest because you didn't want to be too much. You shrank your needs down into it's fine or I'm fine or no, it's cool, it's no problem. You cut your truth about what's going on inside of you into pieces small enough for other people to swallow just because they could stay around and not choke in the room that you were in. That's not insecurity. That's repeated non-receipt. You haven't been received. You haven't been received, and now you don't believe you're going to be received by God. So repeated moments where you showed your real face, and then you watched people walk away once you showed your real face. When when you're starving for a witness of what's going on in you, you're wanting someone to confirm, hey, that's real. I've experienced that too. But you didn't get that witness. So you'll accept anything that resembles it. Okay? So you send a text, you're willing to get a half text back. You'll accept shallow apologies even though they repeat the behaviors over and over again. You'll accept inconsistent affection even though, listen, starving people call crumbs a meal. You hear me? Starving people call crumbs a meal. You call consistency chemistry. You'll even look at neglect and say, well, they just need space. You look at silence and say, well, silence is peace. Or you look at the bare minimums and call it love because connection felt safer than integrity. So you connect minimally because if you show up all the way and talk to anybody about what's really going on inside of you, you think you're going to be abandoned. So you don't heal by killing desperation. Let me talk about how this works out inside of us, okay? We don't heal by killing our desperation. We heal by relocating our loyalty from connection at any cost to truth at any cost. I'm going to be honest about what's going on inside of me, and then I'm going to let the chips fall where they fall. I'm going to be true about what I'm navigating in my mind, my body, my soul, my spirit, and then I'm going to let it ride like I'm showing up honestly. Self-trust is an internal loyalty. It's standing by what you know, even if nobody joins you. Okay? I'm talking about if your voice is shaking and the room goes quiet, but you're going to stand by what you know is real, what is actually going on inside of you. Now, the most safe place to do that is with the Lord. He's your Father. You can give him everything, okay? I want to take this one layer deeper here then, because of those of you that know the Lord. This is not just psychological. This is spiritual. So when you recognize that you're a child of God, something changes, right? Because you have a name. You're not waiting for the room to define you. That's the foundation. I am a child of God. Now you have an identity. You have a name. You're not waiting for that from anyone. You're no longer asking people to approve your existence. You already have a verdict on yourself. I am chosen. Someone put in the comments, I have a verdict. Okay? I have a verdict. I am chosen. I am known. I am seen. I am called. Okay, I am worthy, I am loved, I am accepted. That's what sonship does. It ends performance. And here's the amazing thing is you can be chosen, known, seen, loved, you can be accepted, all of that and still be human. So you no longer have to perform for acceptance. Now you're actually insourcing it from him rather than outsourcing it from others. So you stop outsourcing your value. You stop asking people to stabilize your identity. You stop needing every room to reflect you correctly. Now you can show up the way you are without disappearing, without shrinking, without negotiating what's going on inside of you, the truth about you. You learn to receive affirmation from him, and you learn to give it to yourself. Now you're not extracting worth from anyone. You're operating from it. Would you rather extract worth or operate from it? I don't walk into rooms to get my worth. I walk into rooms with it and then I operate from it. That is freedom in Christ. I got news for someone right now. How someone responds to you is none of your business. What people think about you is none of your business. Your business is to align. Your responsibility is alignment with what the Father says about you. Their response is data about them. It is not data about you. Their response belongs to them. If they don't see you the way God sees you, that's not your problem, amigo. When you're rooted in sonship, rejection does not rewrite your identity in every room you walk into. Rejection does not rewrite your identity in every room, circumstance, or you walk into. And disagreement does not destabilize you. None of these things make you desperate anymore, because what you were desperate for, now you have. Now you don't disappear to survive connection. You show up whole. Let me tell you what the Lord does. He doesn't flinch at your emotion. Even this week, I was angry with the Lord. I shared with somebody on the phone today. I went 2 days not even talking to the Lord because I was angry. Okay? What? What? That's right. You bring anger. David brought his anger. Jeremiah brought his anger. Job brought his anger. God did not say stop feeling because you're a son of God. No, he absorbed it. He is the mountain and we are the wind. He is stable. He is predictable. He can handle it. He's not threatened by your internal world. That builds self-trust, because you're learning my emotions don't disqualify me from sonship. Okay? Now, God does not withdraw when you fail. Peter denied him. Did God withdraw? Jonah ran. Did God withdraw? Adam sinned. He felt shame and hid himself. But did that sin actually separate him from God? Or did God come looking for him? God is not withdrawing from your humanity. Now, God will correct, but he does not erase. God corrects without revoking identity. You don't lose the Holy Ghost every time you make a mistake. That is a false doctrine. Listen, that builds self-trust, because you learn my mistakes do not cancel my sonship. Somebody put it in the comments. My mistakes do not cancel my sonship. He is a predictable father. I want to be the type of father that he is. People are moody. God's not moody. He's steady. What is he steady in? Mercy, justice, peace, love, patience. People are moody. They're fickle. I don't know if I'm going to get that from them or not. If I do, it's a bonus, right? Okay? But God does not have good days and bad days with you. That builds self-trust in you, because your nervous system can relax in consistency. If you will train yourself to go to him, you will learn his consistency is going to retrain you to feel safe. I am safe in him. Okay? You know what the Lord does? He names you before you ever perform. Look, before ever Jesus did a miracle, he said, "This is my beloved son." That was before ministry. He hadn't proved a thing. Why? Because identity precedes output. That's why. Identity precedes output. And that builds self-trust, because worth is not earned. Worth is an unchangeable thing that God sets in his own mind that you cannot change. Someone writes, "He stays," in the comments. He stays. Even when you feel nothing, he stays. That's presence. When you doubt, he stays. When you're quiet, he stays. I will never leave you nor forsake you. God does not panic when you struggle. He stays when you struggle. See, we equate God with people, or even the preacher. Well, if the preacher abandons me, then God's abandoned me. I'm telling you what, when I recognize the steadiness of God in my life, it changed the way I view people. If God, I may not agree with that individual. I may think that guy over there is totally off his rocker. But you know what? If the Lord is working with him, I'm working with him. And the Lord is sticking around, I'm sticking around. That steadiness literally reparents your nervous system. You know what that does inside of you when you consistently encounter a steady God? You stop fearing your emotions, and you stop fearing failure, and you stop fearing rejection. Fear is never going away. You hear people say, I rebuke the spirit of fear. Well, that word spirit there means mindset. Okay, so fear is not a spirit, it's a mindset. It's actually pretty useful at times. It didn't come from the Lord, but it's sure that mindset tells us things, right? But is fear ever going to go away? Fear is not leaving. But what you can do when it shows up, that's where the consistency happens. That's where the peace happens. David said, what time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. Fear is not leaving you. Fear is never going to leave you. But when I fear rejection, I can find acceptance in him. When I fear failure, I can go to him. When I fear my emotions, he's touched by my infirmities. I'm telling you, you're not negotiating identity anymore. It's time for you to start operating from it. God meets your chaos with consistency. That's what makes him Father. His steadiness rebuilds what all of those unsteady rooms broke. So the most dangerous thing that you can do is when you've been desperate your whole life, the most dangerous thing you can do is mean what you say. I'm a son of God, and I'm a child of God, and I'm not renegotiating that. I'm loved, and I'm not going to soften that. I'm not performing, and I'm not moving away from it. That's the truth. You know what? The truth is a person, and the person will make you free. So when you do that, something returns. It's not hype. It's your spine. It's your spiritual backbone. Your inner witness wakes up again and you realize, I don't need someone to get it right once for me to be real. I don't need me. I don't need, how do I say it? I need me to stop abandoning myself. And when you're seen by him, you can finally see yourself. That is self-trust. And that steadiness from God, it's not intensity, it's consistency. It's not mood-based, it's performance-based. It's not reaction-based. And that does something powerful inside of us. We're not shifting with people anymore. We're not moving with the crowd. We're not going up and down. It's consistent. It's powerful. It's steady. It's not about intensity. It calms your nervous system. You know, when a father is steady, you know, I have an example of when my own son was afraid of the dark. You know, he'll come to me. When he comes to me, he's scanning for danger. He's bracing. He's trying. But when I get a hold of him and I'm steady, he borrows my regulation and it steadies him. He stops scanning for danger. When you lean into the acceptance of the Lord as your Father, you'll stop bracing for rejection. You stop performing for safety. So steadiness turns survival mode off in your life and in your mind, and you begin to live inside. Inside, you're no longer monitoring. You begin to live instead of monitor. That's abundant life. You're not scanning all the time for people's acceptance or approval or validation. You've got it inside so people can be whatever they're going to be, and that's not your responsibility. You're steady there. See, his steadiness with us, it separates our identity from our behavior. You know, this is one thing that I have seen has really gone off the rails in the modern church, and that is that identity is not the same as behavior. Your identity doesn't move with your behavior. Your identity is static. Your behavior goes up and down because of your humanity. Your identity rides in your sonship, fully son of God. Your humanity might dictate your behavior because, of course, you've got a soul operating. So you've got mind and will and emotions, and you're navigating that in the soul with the body. So you're going to go up and down, but your identity is not moving with that. God is going to correct you. Yes, he's going to correct you from the inner man over here, but he does not revoke your sonship. So you can fail without collapsing. You can be corrected without feeling erased. You can meet yourself with grace and mercy, because in this covenant and in this frequency of father to child, that's where his mercy and grace comes in. That's how he operates with us. You steady fathers discipline without destabilizing identity. And that builds that internal security. I'm not talking about eternal security. I'm talking about internal security. That steadiness from the Lord gives you an authority on the inside. When God is steady with you, you don't need the room now to stabilize you. You have that authority, that stability in here. I call that an anchor, okay? That's an anchor. You are steady because you are anchored. You are already anchored. That anchor is like your spine, like my spine right now. It anchors me. That spine goes away. I almost said jello eyes. I just turn into jello. But that anchor in him, where God is steady with you, you don't need the room to stabilize you. You got it from him. Now you have a spine, a spiritual steadiness. You can stand without aggression. You can speak without panic. You can disagree without fear. That steadiness from the Lord restores self-trust. When God consistently meets you, you begin to trust your internal signal again. You stop fearing your emotions. You stop fearing failure. You stop fearing abandonment. His consistency rewires your expectations. Think about that. When I was younger, I expected, man, I could, and I saw it today. I saw it in a child. The father looked at this child and said, "Did you do such and such?" And he said, "Yes, I did it." And he said, "Wait a second, I don't think you did. You're lying to me." He said, "I'm sorry. I was afraid that I would be in trouble. I was afraid that you were going to punish me. You were going to be angry." That's what he said. "I was afraid you would be angry." Well, listen, when you realize that God is not running around being angry and ridiculing and criticizing, his mercy, his grace, his compassion, anger is not one of the fruits of his spirit. He is a father and you are a child, and that consistency begins to rewire your expectations. Now you can just tell the truth, because he's not there to throw the gavel at you. So you can show up and not be erased. You can be human and not be revoked as a son of God. See, you don't give steadiness to others. Think about this. You don't give steadiness to others with speeches, do you? You give it with regulation. Think about this. When your spouse comes to you, how do you give them steadiness the way God gives it to you? Well, you don't escalate when they escalate. You don't withdraw when they express emotion. You don't punish their honesty. You don't correct them while shaming them. You stay consistent in your tone. You stay there and you follow through. Your follow through is consistent. Your steadiness says you are safe to be fully you. And that builds trust more than romance ever will. Think about it with your children. With your children, you come to them when they cry. You stay calm when they're melting down. You separate their behavior from their identity. Okay? You be predictable in correction. You apologize when you miss it. That's what a steady father does. He teaches a child your emotions are navigable. Your mistakes are survivable. Your identity is secure. And all of those things are normal for everyone, and you're not some whack job out here in left field. That's how self-trust forms in a child. And you give them the identity that the Lord has for them. So you cannot give steadiness if you yourself are not regulated. You cannot offer safety if you're reactive. So you've got to get it from him, and then it flows from him to you, through you, and then out to others. Because you can't offer safety if you are reactive. Steady people create secure people. Someone put that in the comments. Steady people create secure people. The calm one always wins. And the only way to become steady is to receive steadiness first. And that's why sonship matters. You cannot pass on what you have not internalized. You can't pass on what you have not internalized. And so the Lord is wanting to rework this in you. He's wanting to give you a sense of you are seen. You can be fully seen. You don't have to be desperate anymore. You can trust in what I'm giving to you. And then you can come into agreement with it and you can live from it. And now you're not outsourcing that to everyone else. I just want to pray for you right now. I'm going to ask the Lord to help us. And I'm going to ask the Lord to minister to you. For the ones of you here right now who learn to monitor rooms instead of trusting yourself, instead of trusting God. For the ones who became, Lord, for the ones who are here right now who became easy instead of real. For the ones who have shrunk themselves to survive, I'm asking for them, Lord, to just enter in and experience your steadiness. Not hype and not emotions, but steadiness. Remind everyone that is watching right now, remind them that they have a name. Remind them that they are sons and daughters. Teach them to receive worth from you so that they stop extracting it from people. I'm praying right now that you would give everyone watching courage from you to stand by what they know without hostility, without fear, without disappearing. Restore their internal loyalty. Let their spiritual spine return. Let their voice steady. Let their life become unshakable and abundant. Let them live aligned with what you are saying about them, their worth, their value, their significance. Help them to see that they do not need to perform in order to get value or worth, that they can be fully who they are with you in private, and you can help them to have transformation in their inner man. Lord, I pray that they would see that they do not need permission to exist. They already have a name. I want to tell someone right now, the Lord is telling me to tell you that he saw you when no one else did. You have never been unseen to him. You've never been invisible. Your tears were recorded before anyone ever acknowledged them. He was present in rooms where you felt alone. You are not forgotten. You are known by God. You do not need to compete for his attention. You already have it. You do not need to perform for his approval. You already have it. You do not need to shrink to stay loved. You do not need to translate yourself for him. He understands you fully. You're not too much for him. Your pain did not disqualify you. Your silence did not erase you. Your mistakes did not revoke your sonship. Your weakness did not threaten his commitment to you. He called you, and he called you before you produced anything. He's not reconsidering you. He's not withdrawing from you. He's not confused about who you are. He is not repenting of your gifts and your callings. He is not upset that he ever chose you. You do not need to beg him for what you already have and what he has declared that you have and you are. You do not need to chase him for what he has already secured for you. And you don't need to extract worth from people. You're not invisible. You are his. You are seen without performing. You are known without explaining. You are held without begging him to hold you. I want to remind you today that you have a name.